loved his family and loved serving this state and our country. He dedicated his life to our country.
Graham's heart was deeply rooted in his love for both his family and his unwavering commitment to serving his state and country. He poured his entire life into this mission, a dedication that went far beyond the call of duty. Balancing the intense demands of a legal career while proudly wearing the military uniform was challenging enough. But on top of that, he faced the monumental responsibility of raising a teenager who had just lost both her parents. This wasn't just a symbolic act of care, it was real, day-to-day, tireless parenting. His sister remembers him being there not only for the big moments, but for the exhausting, ordinary struggles, everything from navigating difficult times at school to patiently helping her cope with a slow and painful grieving process. All of this happened while he was finishing his law degree and laying the groundwork for what would become an impressive 33-year military legal career. During the last 4 years of his active duty, stationed at Rhein-Main Air Base in Germany, he juggled roles as a military prosecutor and defense attorney far away from the small South Carolina town where his sister was growing up. This distance added a huge layer of complexity to his efforts to be an involved parent, a challenge rarely acknowledged in political stories about his career. Despite the miles, he made regular trips home on leave to check in on her school progress and emotional well-being. He also relied heavily on a tight-knit group of family friends in Central to support her whenever his military commitments took him overseas for long stretches. Those friends later testified that Darlene never seemed to lack structure, guidance, or attention, a testament to Graham's determination to stay connected and engaged from afar. By most accounts, this was an extraordinary and uncommon arrangement for a man barely out of his 20s, one that left almost no room in his life for anything else. He dedicated his life to a path very different from the typical dating and courtship experiences most people his age were exploring back then. Their connection remained deeply rooted, even decades later, when the two paused together at their parents' graves on the very street where he grew up, just before he announced his 2016 presidential campaign. This quiet, heartfelt ritual spoke volumes about his priorities, far more than any public speech that followed. The evening before that pivotal announcement, Darlene reportedly stepped into the old pool room above their childhood home for the first time in nearly 30 years. A powerful moment friends recall left her visibly emotional as she confronted the bittersweet memories of losing their parents at such a young age. It was during this time that Darlene finally gave the public the clearest insight into a mystery that had lingered about her brother for almost half a century. She explained that he never married because his focus was fully consumed by raising her. She described him as a young man suddenly thrust into the role of caretaker for a young girl and teenager, all while struggling to complete his own education. A story that leaves no doubt about where his true priorities lay during the years most people are building their own families. Darlene, now married with children of her own and living in South Carolina for much of her adult life, remains close to the town where her brother first embraced the enormous responsibility of family. Taking on the weighty responsibility of raising his sister shaped much of his early life in Washington, D.C. Alongside the whirlwind of his bachelor lifestyle, under the relentless glare of the spotlight, he navigated a complex world. Once his sister was firmly settled and his years of active military service behind him, he dove headfirst into the world of politics. His early political career began modestly, first as an assistant attorney for Oconee County, then stepping up as the city attorney for his hometown of Central. By 1992, he had secured a seat in the South Carolina House of Representatives, setting the stage for the rapid rise that followed. His climb from these local legal posts to a key player on the Senate Judiciary and Armed Services Committees was deeply intertwined with his 33 years of dedicated Air Force service. This included a significant stint as a military prosecutor in Germany, highlighting his expertise and commitment before he retired from the reserve in 2015. Over 2 decades, this remarkable journey placed him directly in the thick of national security discussions shaping the country's defense policies. His transition to the U.S. House of Representatives came in 1994, and just 8 years later, in 2002, he stepped into the Senate seat formerly held by the legendary Strom Thurmond. He then secured re-election bids in 2008 and 2014, solidifying his political presence. Much of his reputation in Washington was forged in tandem with his close, enduring friendship with Senator John McCain of Arizona. The two, alongside Senator Joe Lieberman, earned the nickname the Three Amigos for their rare ability to work across party lines on critical defense and foreign policy issues. McCain once remarked with fond humor in an interview that while Graham had dated many remarkable women over the years, he was never seen seriously considering marriage, a playful observation that reflected the deep affection and respect McCain held for him. Graham's unique quirks became so well known that they evolved into a light-hearted joke between him and McCain, popping up whenever reporters dared to ask. When McCain received his devastating brain cancer diagnosis in 2017, it was Graham who took on the difficult responsibility of informing their fellow senators after a deeply emotional phone conversation with McCain himself. Later, Graham told reporters that cancer had never encountered a rival quite as resilient or determined, highlighting the fierce spirit of his longtime friend. Their bond remained unbreakable even after McCain's passing in 2018. In fact, Graham went above and beyond to honor the friendship, helping coordinate Ivanka Trump's attendance at the funeral, a delicate task given the strained relationship between her father and the McCain family. This thoughtful act reportedly required Graham to seek direct approval from McCain's widow, underscoring the depth of respect he held for the late senator's legacy. Throughout these years, Graham's approach to legislation mirrored the same deep respect for collaboration that characterized his friendship with McCain. At a moment when Washington was splintering into fierce partisan battles, he stood out as a rare figure willing to cross political divides in search of real progress. This earned him both staunch praise and sharp criticism. Supporters admired him as a pragmatic statesman focused on getting things done, while some within his own party viewed his willingness to compromise as a sign of weakness. Nowhere was this delicate balancing act more apparent than in the heated debate on immigration reform. Starting in the mid-2000s, Graham teamed up with the late Senator Ted Kennedy, a towering figure of liberal values, to champion a bold, comprehensive plan that sought to tackle multiple immigration challenges at once, aiming to enhance border security while simultaneously providing a path forward for millions caught in the system. He pushed for a bold overhaul of the legal immigration system, aiming to create a clear, lawful pathway to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants already living in the United States, though only under strict, enforceable conditions. This wasn't just a quick fix or a temporary bandage on a long-standing problem. It was a sweeping, ambitious effort to finally address a challenge that had frustrated politicians for decades. While the proposal sparked lively national debates and conversations, it also drew sharp criticism from many conservative activists, who insisted that any path allowing undocumented immigrants to stay legally was essentially a form of amnesty, no matter the safeguards. But Graham strongly pushed back against that label, arguing that a workable immigration policy must strike a careful balance, one that combines empathy and fairness with strong law enforcement. To him, protecting America's borders and building a sensible, organized immigration system should not be at odds but should work hand in hand. The controversy didn't fade away. Fast forward a few years, Graham was once again thrust into the spotlight as a key Republican voice helping to shape the major bipartisan immigration bill introduced in 2013. As a member of the Senate's influential Gang of Eight, he dedicated countless hours negotiating across party lines with Democrats and fellow Republicans alike, hoping to forge a compromise that could gain widespread support. The legislation they crafted was striking. It promised billions in funding for tougher border security, overhauls to visa programs, new employment verification measures, and a lengthy, carefully structured path to legal status and eventual citizenship for those undocumented immigrants who qualified. The Senate even passed the bill with strong bipartisan backing. However, the plan hit a brick wall in the House of Representatives and never advanced into law. Still, Graham's role in this effort firmly established him as one of the most prominent Republican figures willing to engage seriously with one of the country's most complex and divisive issues. One of the most outspoken and visible champions for immigration reform, Graham's fierce dedication was deeply shaped by his own experiences as an Air Force lawyer and reserve officer. Drawing on that military foundation, he passionately pushed for a powerful American military and a proactive foreign policy that took the global stage seriously. Over time, he earned a reputation as one of the Senate's most steadfast national security hawks, firmly believing that America's leadership abroad was not just important, but absolutely vital for maintaining worldwide stability. Unlike many who rely strictly on reports and briefings from Washington, Graham made it a point to travel extensively overseas, especially during the intense years of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. He didn't just skim the surface. He met face-to-face with American troops, career diplomats, and allied leaders, gaining an up-close understanding of the complex issues and tough realities they encountered on the ground. These first-hand experiences didn't just stay abroad, they deeply shaped his public speeches and debates back in the capital. Even after those wars receded from public memory, Graham's travels didn't stop. When Russia's aggressive invasion of Ukraine changed the course of global politics, he quickly rose as one of Congress's most vocal and unwavering advocates for continued American support to Ukraine. Visiting the country multiple times, he engaged directly with Ukrainian officials, showing genuine solidarity for their determined efforts to defend their nation. Throughout these visits, Graham emphasized that helping Ukraine was far more than a generous gesture, it was a critical strategic move to uphold international security and reinforce democratic values. Whether the topic was terrorism, NATO's evolving role, rising tensions with China, Russia's ambitions, or conflicts in the Middle East, Graham consistently championed a foreign policy philosophy focused on strong deterrence, military preparedness, and robust international partnerships. His supporters admired his steady, experienced voice, while his critics debated if he too readily endorsed military actions abroad. Whatever your view, his unwavering positions. Throughout his lengthy Senate career, Lindsey Graham's core principles and political approach remained strikingly steady, rarely veering from the path he set early on. While his legislative efforts often grabbed the spotlight, it was impossible for him to completely sidestep the public's curiosity about his private life. Unlike many presidential hopefuls who boast of marriage and children, Graham's bachelor status had become an intriguing footnote in his public image. This unique personal aspect frequently sparked questions from reporters, political analysts, and everyday voters alike, all wondering how an unmarried president might handle the deeply traditional and symbolic roles associated with the White House, especially the role of First Lady. When Graham launched his brief 2016 bid for the Republican nomination, these inquiries popped up time and again. But instead of reacting with frustration or evasion, he often met the questions with a quick wit and a touch of humor. Rather than focusing on family life, Graham had devoted the majority of his adult years to serving his country through military duty and political engagement. Whether people admired his fierce independence or questioned his unpredictable nature, one thing was clear. He was among the most familiar faces in the Senate. His journey was characterized not just by the policies he endorsed, but by his readiness to defy expectations and stubbornly carve out his own path. During this same period, Graham's political stance underwent a profound evolution. In the heat of the 2016 Republican primary, he emerged as one of Donald Trump's fiercest Republican opponents, sharply condemning Trump's proposal to ban Muslims from entering the country by labeling him a race-baiting bigot. This outspoken criticism struck a chord, provoking a dramatic retaliation. Trump publicly shared Graham's personal cell phone number at a rally, ratcheting up tensions between the two. However, in the years that followed John McCain's passing in 2018, a surprising transformation occurred. Graham gradually shifted to become one of Trump's most influential Republican champions within the Senate. This political realignment significantly altered the landscape of the Senate and reshaped Graham's legacy in powerful and unexpected ways. His public persona was almost as deeply intertwined with his private family narrative, each element shaping the man he truly was. From 1919 to 1921, he led the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he played a pivotal role in confirming numerous federal judges who would leave lasting impacts on the judiciary. Later, from 1925 right up until his passing, he chaired the Senate Budget Committee, becoming a constant and influential voice in American foreign policy discussions, steadfastly shaping debates through some of the country's most challenging times. Darlene Graham Nordone eventually revealed the heartfelt reasoning behind many of his choices, shedding light on the man behind the public figure. Senator Lindsey Graham's life came to a sudden close on the 11th of July 2026, at the age of 71. His office initially described his passing as the result of a brief, unexpected illness, leaving many stunned. Further medical evaluations identified a torn aorta coupled with hardened arteries as the likely cause, a silent and dangerous condition that can lurk undetected for years, striking without warning. The timing of his death was particularly shocking, as he had recently returned from an international trip and was preparing for a major media appearance that very same week. Within hours, heartfelt tributes began flooding in from across the political landscape. Meghan McCain, the daughter of one of Graham's closest and dearest friends, penned a touching tribute. She spoke of how he had become almost like family to them, describing the enduring bond he maintained long after her father's passing in 2018, continuing to visit, call, and offer support even when public attention had faded. The McCain family members similarly expressed their deep gratitude for his unwavering loyalty and friendship through the years. The sense of personal loss was echoed profoundly, with many expressing how deeply heartbroken they felt over losing a man they had come to see as part of their own family for nearly 3 decades. Tributes poured in, highlighting not only his public service but also the unique aspect of his life that set him apart. Graham was the only sitting member of the Senate who had never married, a fact that quietly followed him throughout his entire career in Washington. This detail took on a new and poignant significance when his sister began to share the reasons behind it publicly, adding layers of understanding to the man behind the public figure. Amid the outpouring of official condolences, it was Darlene Graham Nordone who painted the most intimate portrait of her brother's true character. Now a mother of 2 and devoted to helping people with disabilities find meaningful employment, Darlene revealed that Lindsey's decision to raise her wasn't just an act of family duty, it was a commitment he prioritized above ever building a family of his own. She recalls how Lindsey promised her early on that he would always take care of her, and he kept that vow throughout his entire life, never once treating it like an obligation or a sacrifice. That promise, she said, far outlasted any of the jokes he made about remaining a bachelor. Their official obituary poignantly noted that Lindsey was barely in his 20s when both of their parents passed away within 15 months of each other, an immense personal loss that left him responsible for raising his younger sister while still juggling his own educational pursuits. This summary traced his journey through those early tragedies, continuing on through law school, his military service, and finally into decades of dedicated public office. In a truly fitting tribute, in the next chapter of this remarkable story, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster appointed Darlene to complete the remainder of her brother's Senate term. Taking the oath of office in Washington, she did so under her full legal name, Darlene Graham. Afterward, speaking with reporters, she shared a deeply heartfelt message. Her brother had always stood as her steadfast protector, and now it was her time to honor that bond by stepping up and giving back. This powerful moment brought to a close a circle that had quietly begun over 50 years ago back in the dimly lit rooms behind a modest, small-town bar. It was there, when Lindsey was just a determined 20-year-old college student, that he made a solemn promise to an 11-year-old, grieving girl that no matter the cost, he would always look out for her. Rather than revealing a hidden scandal or some secret kept from the public eye, what Darlene's story reveals is something far deeper, simpler, and profoundly moving. Lindsey Graham chose a path seldom seen, never marrying because he had already created a family, one he nurtured and raised with unwavering devotion long before many even knew. He refused to let his sister be scattered across distant relatives or forgotten in the shadows, instead crafting a bond that defied traditional expectations and reshaped the meaning of family. Every light-hearted joke about rotating first ladies in his life and every subtle deflection during campaign interviews were grounded on this original, powerful decision, a choice that only became fully clear in the words his sister courageously shared after his passing. And with that, we reach the end of this incredible journey. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this story with us. If it moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel and get more captivating content like this. For more unforgettable stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, click on the next video popping up right now on your screen.